I would like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting is duly called, and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The following board members are in attendance: Tracy Miller, Allison Lasan, Catherine Sells, Dr. Buddy Bonner, Christy Hassett, Jenny Prosnick, and Sheila Taylor. We will now convene into a closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551, specifically 551.071, 072, 074, and 079. The time is 6:01 p.m.
High School.
Yep.
Go ahead.
We will now convene in open session. The time is 6:59 p.m. Please join us as students from Lewisville Elementary School lead us in the pledges. Riley Robinson was sick and had to go home, so we'll have Clarissa Paz Caballero and Mario Paz Caballero.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas pledge. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, guys. Welcome to all. The Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees meets monthly to receive reports from staff and take action on recommendations from the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation 10 days in advance of these regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions. The board also meets in regularly scheduled workshops and work sessions where staff discussions and presentations are given for many of the agenda items. This protocol means lengthy discussion or a litany of questions on every agenda item is often not necessary. And as a board, we should have appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of our meeting tonight. Furthermore, we ask that all in attendance conduct themselves respectfully at all times during the meeting. Any outbursts or disruptive behaviors may result in your removal from the board meeting. Do we have any actions from executive session?
I will.
Brosnick.
Mr. Miller, I move that the board find good cause exists to show contract abandonment as defined by the Texas Education Code and the Texas Administration Code by Stephanie Berry. Additionally, I move that administration is permitted to file a complaint of contract abandonment and notify the State Board for Educator Certification of teacher contract abandonment.
Do I have a second? Ms. Hassett. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Do I have another motion? Ms. Hassett.
I make a motion to reject the offer received by Portico Education Foundation, DBA Trivium Academy, regarding 10 acres of surplus property with a facility located at 4431 Augusta Drive in the Colony, Texas, which was the only offer received from an open enrollment charter school in response to the charter school offer bid package number 3017-22, sale of surplus property with facility.
Do I have a second? Ms. Prosnick. Sorry. All right, any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 7-0. There are no spotlight recognitions this evening. Dr. Rapp.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I'm pleased this month to bring you the superintendent update. So we're going to get that for you on the screen. All right, so since we met last month, of course, we are working, our emphasis on the school district is our 3 C's of connection, communication, and culture. So I'm going to start first with our update around connection. I'm very proud last week of the many Veterans Day ceremonies and programs that happened throughout the district, and I'm so proud of what our students are able to learn by being in school on Veterans Day and how they learn to honor the men and women who have served our country so faithfully in the military. And of course, we're thankful for Ms. Taylor's service. And I would just ask, do we have any veterans in the audience with us tonight that have served our country? Would you go ahead and stand up, please? Well, and Ms. Taylor, yes? Thank you all so much for your service to our country, and I'm just so proud again of our schools and all that they accomplished last week in recognizing the service of our men and women in uniform. We also, of course, I'm working to continue building those connections with staff, and so I've had many lunch with Lori's where I'm getting the opportunity to listen to our staff members as they provide me feedback about how things are going in the school district. I've been to Shadow Ridge, Briar Hill, Durham, and Creekside, and I have upcoming visits to Heritage this week and Donald and Griffin after Thanksgiving break. I also had the opportunity, I pulled together our group of our Teachers of the Year. We had Teachers of the Year all the way from the early 2000s to now that are in that photograph with me on the screen, and getting the opportunity to hear their feedback about how things are going in the school district allows me to stay informed and know about concerns and get ideas for how to address those as well. And then I've completed our first round of staff solution groups around teacher workload, staff workload, with recent staff solution groups with high school staff and special ed. And of course, it's interesting to note that teacher recruitment and retention is of continued conversation and concern, and that's something we're working on in the district as well. We know that the Commissioner of Education, of course, has a group working at the state level also, as we all want to ensure that we're keeping our staff and putting the most qualified staff in front of our students each and every day. As far as connection groups go with our community, I meet, of course, with my high school student advisory group. I saw them last week, and they continue to give us good feedback. One of the projects that they talked about they're working on, of course, with LHS is our Adopt an Angel. We're so proud of our Adopt an Angel program that we have, where we are working on getting presents for students and families who are in need. And all of the high school student advisory groups reported from each one of our high schools that they will be participating in getting presents for that project, along with helping to wrap those gifts as well. And then last week, I met for the first time with elementary and middle school student advisory group from LHS, and so got to hear from elementary students from the LHS feeder pattern and middle school students about ways that they want their student experience improved and things that they're proud of from their schools as well. Our Key Communicators group will meet this week, and Key Communicators is a community group as we engage with our parents and our community members, one from every single school, about key critical issues in the district and educating them on how to be more informed and advocate for our schools. And then I'll have brand ambassadors with staff that are meeting in early December. Then when it comes to communication, I always like to report on the newsletters. We maintain a high open rate for the education industry with the accessibility of my communication both to staff and to the community. The wrap-up open rate for staff was 67%. The top clicks included my video message, staff game night, and election resources. And then for the report to the LISD community, and I would just remind everybody that those messages are found on the internet, on our website, and on my social media channels. That was an open rate of 66%, and we had great clicks on different topics in the report as well. And then when it comes to working on culture, a few things that I wanted to highlight this evening. We had our emerging bilingual students from Harmon and Kilo hit the trails at Lewisville for a day of environmental education. And I'm so proud of Lewisville and that property that we have in the school district and the experiences that it gives to students. There are people in other school districts that have to go outside their district in order to provide nature and science experiments to their kids, and we have the benefit of having that right here in Lewisville ISD. And then, of course, our Learning and Teaching Department partnered with the Diary of a Wimpy Kid author who visited our LISD community, and we held that at Hebron, and that was a very exciting time as we were one of those tour stops, and students could come and meet the author there. And then we had students from LHS Fashion Design partner with a Vickery kindergarten class to bring lessons of the love monster to life. And that was fashion design students that were really working to bring that book to life for the kids. And of course, we've got tons more stories about the great work that is happening with our kids and our staff, and those can be found at lisd.net/stories. I'm so proud of PTA Bowling for Scholars, and I saw some of our PTA members in the audience this evening. We had a great turnout last Saturday, November 5th, for that event. All 5 high school mascots were in attendance, and they even participated in a bowling event. And the Hebron Hawk was the winner of the trophy, bringing back that trophy to Hebron High School for bowling there. And we thank our PTA, and I'm proud to work with them. And I meet with Jennifer Perry, as you all know, each and every month as our Council of PTA President to stay connected to engaging our parents as part of our educational process here. We also recently, with LEF, awarded campus grants across the school district. That was a very exciting day. I know many of you came to those campus grant awards as well. There were a total of 37,685 campus grants awarded. And then, of course, we are so very proud to be home of the top 3 of the top bands in the state of Texas who were in the top 10 at the 6A UIL State Marching Championship competition. Hebron High School placed second, earning the silver medal, and we will be recognizing them soon. At one of our meetings, you'll begin to see them, and Flower Mound High School was in 7th place, and Marcus High School was in 9th place. Out of 42 of the state's top bands, only 14 advanced to the final, and we are the only school district with 3 in the final 14 competing and in the top 10, and we're very, very proud of our band directors and kids. And of course, our musicals just completed 2 rounds of them. Theater at the Colony did a great presentation of The Little Mermaid just this last weekend, and LHS Theater presented Peter Pan. We're so thankful to all of our families that come out and support our kids, as we have such talented kids in our school district, and what great productions. And I look forward to the remaining round of musicals that will happen in January. And then we know the football playoffs have begun. We are so proud of LHS and Marcus that made it to the by-district round. They both competed last weekend. LHS won, and they will be moving on to play Arlington Martin in the area round at SMU on Friday at 7 p.m. So go Farmers. We are looking forward to a great competition there on Friday. And then speaking of athletics, we have a special treat as a part of this presentation. We, of course, just completed the inaugural water polo season, and we have with us many of our athletes from water polo and coaches, and I think they had some special words they wanted to say tonight.
Good evening, Dr. Rapp and rest of the school board. Thank you very much for having us. So my name is Tony Arbogast. I'm the head coach for Flower Mound. And I have our captains here, and 2 of them would like to say some words. So Blake Bosch and Elena Eichert would like to say a few words.
Flower Mound High School wants you to know that your support of UIL water polo program means so much more than just another game or activity. For me personally, it means a chance to excel at a sport that I've dedicated 9 years playing. Water polo is a team sport that takes grit, communication, teamwork, and skills, and now recognize I am pursuing my passion in college with several opportunities at our schools from coast to coast. I want other students at Flower Mound High School to have a chance to see how water polo can positively impact their life, from having places to belong to building lifelong communication skills, learning resiliency and teamwork. Thank you for supporting and caring students like myself.
Board of Trustees, Dr. Rapp, Athletic Director Lyles, LISD teachers and staff. We saw you on the deck in the stands supporting us. You showed up, yelled loud, celebrated us and for us, and for that we will forever be grateful. I am proud of this team, our coaches, our school, and LISD for the accomplishments we made when we came together as one. On behalf of my fellow captains, teammates, coaches, and all future water polo Jags, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brandon Dion. I'm the head coach of Marcus High School, and I have Chase Dion and Megan Marlin, our captains, with us.
Hi, I'll make this quick. My name is Megan Marlin, and I just wanted to give a quick thank you. Thank you guys for backing us up with this sport being UIL. I know we don't get recognized enough, and y'all were there to back us up, and I'm really happy that by the time my sister gets to high school, she will have an entire district that backs her up all 4 years. For me, it was just one, and I'm so grateful that y'all were there and to watch us play and understand what we go through and how our training works and all of that, and I want to thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chase Dion. I'd like to thank Dr. Rapp and also all of LISD for giving us the opportunity to represent Marcus this year. I would think of no better way to end my high school season. Just a big thank you again.
Good evening. I'm Don Zuley, the head coach of the Hebron High School water polo team, and I'll be introducing our captains, Avery Galucci and Jake Fowdy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Avery Galucci. I'm the captain of the Hebron Varsity Girls water polo team. Our team had a very successful season, and we will continue to do well with all the young talent on our team. Our team is very excited for the future seasons ahead of us and how much our program will improve. We are very thankful that water polo has finally become a UIL sport and is recognized. Thank you to our principal, Ms. Boughton, Coach Keeney, and our superintendent, Dr. Rapp, and all of our school board members. Water polo would not be where it is without you.
Hi, my name is Jake Fowdy, and I attend Hebron High School. I was on the first ever UIL water polo team this year. Huge thank you to Superintendent Rabb, Coach Lyles, and the school board for giving us the opportunity to participate in the first UIL water polo season. I'd also like to thank Ms. Sells, Ms. Prosnick, and the administration for coming to the playoff games. You have allowed us athletes to compete at our fullest potential this year. Because of y'all's support, you have helped our program have a successful season. Our first UIL season was a success because LISD invested in this wonderful sport that has taught me a lot and made sure we had the resources and best coaches to coach us. Water polo has allowed me to excel in a team sport in the water. On behalf of the Hebron High School water polo program, thank you.
So, Dr. Rapp, we have a water polo ball that all 3 high schools signed for you. We also have one for Coach Lyles that we will deliver to athletics. So this one is yours. If you remember throwing the ball in the first game. So here you go.
All right, can we get a picture?
Dr. Rapp, we want to recognize the parents in the audience.
Yes, let's do that. Any parents in the audience, please stand up so you can be recognized. Thank you all again very much. We enjoyed watching water polo, and we're excited for what's ahead and to continue come watching future games. I wanted to close out with our Recognize Someone. As you all know, this has been an effort to recognize our staff and celebrate the great work happening in our schools. We had over 500 of these submitted in September and October, and another 500 plus submitted in November. So we've reached over 1,100 Recognize Someones, and I wanted to close with a couple of them tonight for us. This is from parents at Donald for a teacher there. As parents, we are in complete awe of Mrs. Salmon's organizational skills, method of teaching, sweet demeanor, and dedication to making learning challenging but fun. We've noticed a significant sense of confidence and curiosity in our child and have no doubt this is due to what he is experiencing in class. Plus, her commitment to theme days is truly unmatched. Teachers are truly special people, and we are so thankful to have Ms. Salmon for first grade. And then the second Recognize Someone is a parent for a bus driver. Miss B, who drives bus number 420, performs her job exceptionally well by showing her happy face all the time and welcoming every individual kid in her bus. She also cares about them by checking their seatbelt every morning. That is a really good safety mindset example. And that's a great example of what we want to do with Recognize Someone's is spread recognition across the whole organization as we have people making differences in the lives of our kids each and every day. We give thanks for our staff, our students, and our families. I love seeing our water polo students here tonight. It is one of the most fun things I get to do every day. I said I had Rap on the Road Extreme Edition last week as I went all the way to San Antonio to support the band contest with Miss Sells, who was my partner there on that ride, and from water polo to football to marching band to theater to going to a second grade class to read to students. It is wonderful to be out there. And then we are also always thankful for our voters who supported the 2017 bond election that helped our schools be safer as a result of their support and help our school spaces be the most refreshed that they can possibly be, because that does make a difference for our kids each and every day. Thank you for your time and attention this month. I appreciate it. And thank you all again for the special visit from our water polo captains, parents, and coaches and teammates.
Thank you, Dr. Rapp. Persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card. This evening, no LISD resident presentation shall exceed 3 minutes unless that LISD resident who is not a parent has an agenda item that they have specified. Non-LISD parents or residents shall be provided 1 minute for presentation prior to the conclusion of the meeting. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. First two speakers. Mr. Steve Brown, would you give us your name and address, and also would you leave us with your email? Okay. Pamela Cully. Oh. Hi, Mr. Brown.
Press and what else? Okay. But just text me, it'll be fine. My notes. Steve Brown, 3620 Huffines. Got kids in Hebron Valley and Creek Valley. And I'm questioning initially the EverFi ideas that apparently I don't know anything about. Last I heard, there were some meetings about it last week. Parents are thrown out of the meeting, so the open sharing, transparency idea didn't really come across so well. Of course, I asked where it came from, the EverFi idea, and the teachers are apparently already instructing on it, but they've obviously not got the information about it if they're still meeting on what it is that how it is they're supposed to implement it into the classrooms. In the meeting, it was said that this year's curriculum is different than last year's curriculum. So, of course, the question is who approved the changes that the teachers are apparently now teaching but don't know anything about. Transparency, again, Tracy, you seemed that you were very interested in transparency when you were giving out your election ideas, your people naming who they should vote for, but of course kicking parents out of the meeting when we're supposed to be transparent doesn't really lean towards your idea of transparency. Of course, that meeting was last Thursday here at this very building. Of course, those are pretty much all my questions. I'm hoping that you can take a second or two and give me some kind of idea. The word is you guys aren't allowed to address anything that isn't specifically on the agenda, but I understand that this is.
Yeah, we're prepared to address this item at the end of the meeting. After the non-parents have their opportunity to speak, we will address the misunderstandings that you have about the meeting and what took place, and you'll have a full description of it at the end of the meeting.
Good enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Pamela Cully, if you give us your name and address, and specifically you want to talk about agenda item 1.3.a. This is RFP for instructional materials, teaching supplies, and other related products, professional development, training services, materials, and other related products and services, awards, trophies, pins, certificates, and ribbons, catering and meal services, fine arts, consultant services, and materials.
Pamela Cully, 3520 Vanguard Drive. So what do I get for the almost $6,000 in taxes that I'm paying to LASD this year? I get secrecy, deceit, and children being harmed. I get schools that I cannot...
Ms. Cully, let me stop. Does this have anything to do with the agenda?
It does. Yes.
Okay, because if it does, I'm going to cut you off.
I'm paying taxes, and
I understand, but you don't have to.
items.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
If you want to speak to this agenda item, you have 3 minutes. If not, you have a minute at the end.
I'm an in-district parent.
We defined what the rules are at the beginning. You do not have students enrolled. You said you were going to speak on this agenda item.
That's what I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to EverFi, which is one of your...
EverFi is not on the agenda.
It's one of your curriculum items, so on your agenda...
It's not in the agenda.
Okay.
It's not even on that purchase list.
Purchase list. I'm talking about the curriculum that you're using in the schools.
You're talking about an item here for us to approve as a consent item on purchasing software and other things like pins, et cetera. Is that what you want to speak about?
Software? Yes. Software. Yes, I would like to speak about the software that you are purchasing and that you use in your schools. Is that allowed?
Go for it.
Thank you. Okay. Your district stopped community members, parents, and grandparents from learning about your social-emotional learning curriculum in a committee meeting last week. They were even escorted off property. This is what you call transparency. This committee meeting was about the social-emotional learning curriculum called EverFi, which is by Blackbaud. Why did LASD not want community members and parents to hear about this company and its dealings in LASD? Community members have done open records requests about your SEL curriculum, and you state that there are no apps being used for SEL in LASD. However, your social media posts encourage teachers to use more emoji assessments in their classrooms. This implies that not only can that be done, but it's also being done currently. And it sure sounds awfully familiar to Rhythm, which I thought you no longer use. Where is the transparency? Why the deceit? What is LASD afraid of parents finding out? I would love nothing more than to be able to have faith in this district and the school board. I would love to get to send my kids back to the schools that I am taxed on. And I would really love to stop being given reasons to investigate your shady dealings. Please do what you were elected to do. Represent us, the people of your community. Thank you.
Okay, consider action of the items, discussions, closed session. We've done that. Consent items. Are there any consent items that like to be pulled?
I-1A.
Any others? Do I have a motion excluding that? Ms. Sells?
I move that the board approve the consent agenda items as recommended by administration with the exception of the following items pulled for separate consideration. Item I 1A.
Do I have a second? Ms. Hassett, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Ms. Brosnick?
Let me pull the thing. I move that the board approve consent agenda item I-1A as recommended by administration.
Do I have a second? Ms. Hassett, any discussion?
Yes. I actually won't be supporting this item. I have a really, I'm very frustrated with the Texas Department of Agriculture in that they will not allow us to use child nutrition funds for child nutrition business. However, I am not quite willing to write a blank $300,000 check, which is what it could be. I would be more comfortable if administration would bring back item at a time for architectural fees, but I'm not quite willing to sign off on that large of a expense, especially when we don't know what that expense will be. So that's my discussion.
Any other discussion?
I just had a clarifying question. You did motion to approve?
I did.
I just want to make sure before we, yep. Okay.
Okay.
No other questions?
Just as a matter of clarification, what's at discussion here is that we as a board agreed previously that we would spend down our fund balance for child nutrition services. In doing so, in consulting with the Texas Department of Agriculture, they notified us that any work that we did in the facilities, the architectural fees would not be allowed to be paid from the Child Nutrition Fund. Therefore, to do the work, whether it's $75,000 to $300,000, I think we're uncertain as to what that is. It's probably going to be 75, but we don't know what will be back there. We needed to allocate an amount of money so that staff could proceed to honor the commitment of the board to pay that down. Ms. Brosnick's right. This was a little bit of a surprise for us, but we won't be able to do anything if we don't get an architect in there to actually pay down those services. So the vote here would be against the motion.
My motion was to approve.
For the motion, okay.
Yes.
All right. Any other discussion?
A clarifying question. It's a question based on my question because I asked when would we know, and we got notification that that was not approved that day. Is there any appeal to that? And so
currently, no. We did schedule a meeting and met with TDA on this item, and several districts in the state of Texas are trying to do similar things right now, spend down plans in the Child Nutrition Fund, and all are receiving word that is not going to be allowable, architecture fees.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, you need a second. Ms. Hassett. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Information. You voted no? 6-2. 5-2. 5-2. All right. Information items. District Improvement Plan. Dr. Miller.
Good evening, Board. We want to provide an update on our first 9 weeks of District Improvement Plan. A little echoey. Do I go forward or nope? Back. Okay, we'll test it out. Sorry. So our superintendent and district goals are embedded in our District Improvement Plan. Remember that our goals are formatted around the 4 cornerstones, and then we have state mandated items and accountability in goal 5 and 6. And then tonight's updates are highlighting the progress made in the superintendent goals as noted in the District Improvement Plan. So in cornerstone 1 of student learning, we have increasing our early childhood literacy and math. So we have some strategies noted of what's been taking place in order to impact those final results. Literacy check-ins are starting and will happen by the winter break. Teachers are having conversations about time for math. All of our campuses have participated in 2 of our PLC, the added PLC half-days this year. And then administrators as well have been talking about PLCs and the data. They're looking at the data in the dashboards. And then Dr. Fitzhugh is going to be providing a report after this on the data from these goals. For student experience, remember that our goal is around our student survey results of increasing students reporting trusting relationships with staff. So we have really, the 3 C's have been our focus this year, and building connections with our community and our parents as well as our students. So that was a strong focus to start the year off. All of our campuses, with the exception of 1, have done restorative practice now, and that campus will start in January. And then we are collaborating with our student advisories to get feedback as we go through to make sure that their experience is the best that we can make it. And then because that measure, we won't get till student results survey towards spring. We did want to include our attendance because, when students like school and want to be in school and have good relationships, that's hopefully will increase their attendance record. So we noted that for this time. And then resource stewardship, we had several goals in there. First, for our staff, retaining staff, high-quality staff, we did our pulse survey, first check, which we reported on to you in October. And we've been reporting on our recognize someone, through as we go through there. So both of those have had good responses. Then our HR has done some visits for recruitment. That 4 of historically black colleges and universities this semester, and then 2 for the Hispanic serving institutions. 1 has already happened and 1 will happen next week. So, and then we tried an education fair last month, which was a new, reversion of what Dr. Bonner started a couple of years ago. And then they're actually going to be hosting a meet and greet coming next week. And then on technology, I think we had 4 goals around this. So on technology, we have launched our cybersecurity training program has started, and people are completing that now. And then our learning and teaching and our technology are now going through the process of analyzing and responding to the results from the device evaluation that happens. So the results of the outcomes of those, they're now working on them. And then Ms. Maloney is going to talk about the financial goal for this one.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miller. We are at the point in the District Improvement Plan, November, that we wanted to identify the financial sustainability indicators, and that is what we are doing this evening. As far as the GFOA and the ASBO Certificate of Excellence, both of these awards they show long-term commitment to transparency and excellence. And then, of course, the credit ratings from Fitch and both the S&P credit rating, that indicates long-term financial health and is critical for our bonds. We have our regular financial transparency page, and you're going to note in the next couple of months that this will be completely revamped due to this particular focus that we're doing. And so the ones that we just talked about, and then we're going to talk about the transparency stars in just a little bit, those are there. Your first report, we'll be doing that report next month. Our appeal has been granted with the penalty due to the clerical error, but we'll be reporting on that next week. So this whole landing page will be changing quite a bit, and we'll be updating you and your board updates and showing you stuff before the public even gets to see it. For the comptroller stars, we'll report on all 3 of those categories for traditional finances, debt, and contracts and procurement. We are updating those right now. And again, that's another third party indicating our long-term commitment to financial transparency and excellence. And this is going to be my favorite part of this whole process, is our data dashboard that will be as we tell our story and we continue along on our journey, we'll be adding things to this. But these indicators are the most often reviewed, as well as they are indicators that we use to compare ourselves to others. And on our revenue side, as we know, LISD, taxes are the main source of our revenue for our schools, and the expenditure side will be showing how we spend our funds, and then also show our tax rate and our recapture. If we go to the next one, and hopefully by this Friday, we will have this first little test version for you to look at. But this page is going to be great because you can hover over all of these indicators, and it is really just a representation of the story of our district that will be easily accessible at all times for anyone to look at to tell our story. And I just want to say thank you to the communications department for helping us put all of this together. It has got a lot of bells and whistles on it, and Amber's team has worked very diligently with the communications team so we can put this snapshot together for everyone to see, board members, community members, staff members at all times.
All right, and then our last goal for resource stewardship was on prioritizing and allotting our resources for safety and security. And so our drills have been completed to date. We have audits going on our campuses. And then we have implemented the elementary rover program, which, exciting news, they just got awarded an award. And this award actually was designed to recognize a project or a program that contributes to successful risk management programs. And so I think they're going to get that tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. They're going to get that award. So, and then also that award includes the elementary rover patrols as well as the blue plate lunches. So excited about that. And then our last cornerstone on community engagement, this one is, we update y'all monthly on how we're doing with these initiatives, starting off with our communication. We've got a lot of good feedback when we went to lunches with Lori on the communication commitments and how helpful those are for people to kind of understand how to navigate everything, and then our monthly communications with staff and community. And then lots of different connection groups internally and externally that we can have open conversation with and engage. And so we will, our next update will be in February, and then we'll have the end of the year in June. And then Dr. Fitzhugh will be reporting out several months on the student learning update as we go through the year. That is it.
I just wanted to add one quick note. Thank you so much, Dr. Miller. So, of course, the benefit of providing this ongoing information is that these are superintendent goals that were also identified as district goals and part of the evaluation instrument. So that's to be able to report regularly. So this is your first look at progress made that will also then be included in the evaluation instrument as well, the way that y'all have designed that.
Okay, so now we're going to move into the student learning update. As a reminder, we focus in these updates on the 3 goals that the board has developed around early childhood literacy, math, and then college, career, military readiness. On September 12th, you guys approved the early childhood reading, math, and that CCMR goal. LISD uses iStation Reading and iStation Math for those reading and math. And then the college, career, military readiness, we utilize a bunch of different assessments for that one. So for reading, before we talk about the data from that, it's important to note that this year iStation renormed their data, and they also recalibrated their scale scores, which was good for us. It was something that we really needed. Previously, the scale scores went K3, and then 4 or 5 were on a different scale score, so you couldn't really look at 3rd to 4th grade. Now they've put it all on one, so we're able to compare those numbers and look at growth between the years. With the renorming, it was necessary because of the changing in scale scores, and they also wanted to just make sure everything was in alignment. So with that in mind, our 2023 all students goal is 77.8%. At beginning of year, we have 69.9% of our students meeting grade level reading. So we're not quite at our goal, but we're on target. We feel really comfortable with that number 98.2% of our third graders completed iStation reading, so that's a very high percentage. We also don't have student progress on their IEPs included in this data. That gets added in at the end of year, so we kind of see a bump there as well when we start looking at those individual goals. But considering that this was a renormed year, this is coming in really where we would expect to see it. When you compare it to other beginning of year data, it's very consistent with what we've seen in previous years. It's actually a little bit higher than 2021 was. So again, we're just feeling very good about that number right now where we stand. Currently, we have 4 campuses that have met their reading target. We have 18 campuses that are within 10%, 8 that have a 10 to 20%, and then 9 that have a little over 20% to get to their target. On your board readiness dashboard, you can find this data. This is actually a screenshot from November, so the numbers have changed a little bit. Your readiness dashboard also looks at student growth over time. So if you look at that literacy ready circle in the top row on the right, you can see that 87.4% of our third graders are on grade level or have already shown the growth that we would expect to see. And so we're really in line with what we would like for our third grade. So for math, just as a reminder, iStation Math, we started using this in 2020-21. It requires students to utilize a lot of different skill sets. It's not in alignment with our scope and sequence because it tests the entire year all at one time. So those are just reminders to always keep in our heads as we're looking at this data. So our target for this year is 75.7%. We're currently at 47.7%. 94.9% of our third graders completed, and then the IEP data is not included. While that 47.7 seems on the low side, you have to remember we took this in September, so students have just had access to 4 weeks of the curriculum at this point, and it's testing on the full year. When you compare it to other beginning of year data, we are in a line. We're a little bit lower than we were in 2021, but not anything that would cause alarm at this point. 14.2% of students were below that 494 target that we've kind of set, but they're at their beginning of year threshold. We kind of have an end of year threshold when we look at that data, so that's just another note as we look at it. Currently, we don't have any campuses who have met their target. We have 5 that are within 15%, 14 within 16 to 25%, and then 20 that have more than 25% to go to their target. If you go to your Edugen's dashboard, this widget on your dashboard is only calibrated for third grade, so you've got to make sure that third grade level has been filtered down to, and you can see your results are there as well.
So I would just like to provide you an update on the support that Learning and Teaching continues to provide for our teachers. The reading academies are going on as we speak with another almost 500-600 teachers participating, and we continue to provide support to them. We also have been embedding implementation of reading strategies and focusing on how that works within the balanced literacy framework that we operate under so that our teachers can apply those skills into the context of the curriculum in the way that it is written, and also just best practices for teaching and acquiring reading skills. We do a lot of cross-curricular training as well so that they can see how those skills apply in the other content areas. As you know, we have many new STAR item types, so that's been a focus for our teams so that we can talk with our teachers about how they can adjust and making sure that their instruction each day does hit the rigor of what they will be tested at by the end of third grade. Time for Math has continued successfully in a PLC type of approach for our first, third, and fifth graders, and Ms. Kelly and her team have been focusing on the development of concrete understandings into pictorial and then abstract as the continuum, rich problem solving, and then the new STAR item types as it's related to math. And we've added additional checkpoints to the curriculum so that teachers have ongoing ways in which to assess our students. That gives them more information even than iStation would because it's based on the curriculum that's been taught. We've got personalized coaching going on, PLC support from our learning facilitators, ongoing data discussions, including those literacy check-ins, partnerships with our programs, and then training for our principals on professional learning. We just did one with them in Principal U to make sure that they had a deep understanding of instructional best practices and how STAR aligns to that.
And in terms of the college career military readiness goal, all of our high schools administered SAT School Day on October 27th. We had over 1,100 students participate, and the breakdown is there by campus. The students will also have the opportunity to participate in the ACT this spring, so we'll have additional students who engage in those activities. We're also working to ensure that students are accessing our career centers and different projects, different programs.
And really, as a district leadership, we've come together to solidify our CCMR support for our campuses as we move forward. Mr. Cooper's team's been conducting audits on the CTE courses and the alignment within the programs of study, making sure that we make any recommendations we need to in order to shore those up and to be more successful at those completion opportunities for our students. We've been educating our CTE teachers and our liaison counselors with PLC opportunities, counselor meetings, and of course doing some program study crosswalks with them so that they have clarity in what those opportunities are for our students so that they can work with them when they're scheduling as well. Prior to spring registration, we'll be training our campus administrators and counselors, and then we'll work with Ms. Adams and Ms. Crow to give the winter update for all of our campus teams. And then we are going to take a team effort and go out to each campus and meet with them individually to go through their data and to talk with them about where they can really get some big wins with our students and what's working best for their campuses and where there are some areas where maybe we can help make some improvements.
We will be back in January with another student learning update, as Dr. Miller alluded. And with that, are there any questions?
I guess I just want to clarify that in our evaluation system, we do not use STAR at all. It is not even mentioned in our evaluation instrument.
And isn't that the committee that you chair?
I'm no longer the chair, but it is a committee I sit on.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you for letting me speak. I think the first comment that I had was regarding the improvement plan update. Just wanted to say, as a proud graduate of an HBCU, I was happy to hear that that is one of your focus areas to help alleviate the shortages at our schools, and also working to ensure that there's diverse staff that reflects the diverse student body or mirrors the diverse student body. Also, regarding the dashboard, I always have to remind myself as a CPA, I love to hear about financial transparency, so happy to know that that's going to be put in place with an analysis of our financial health indicators. And then, as always, the commitment to the safety and security of our children. And then my last comment, which may be, well, I guess it's more of a comment, regarding the math scores. I spent a lot of time today with Dr. Fitzhugh going over the EduGents dashboard, and my question was regarding math. So though I see that the scores are lower, I'm looking forward to updates at the end of the year to see how much improvement we make.
And we've been doing writing longer than we've been doing math. So,
yeah,
we're looking forward to that as well. Anything else, Dr. Fitzhugh? Okay. Mr. Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. This is the monthly technology report. The report is in board book. As you can see, very little has changed on our remaining 2017 technology bond funds for this month. Our I-fee revenue is up a little bit. With back-to-school forms open, you'll see more revenue in July and August. Also, as you can see on our device ages, our teacher devices are getting into that, what we're calling kind of a warning stage of being over 4.5 years old. On the second page, with students coming back, this data again is from August. You'll see that we have about 96.5% of our families are saying on the Skyward forms that they have broadband access at home. Additionally, out of our enrolled students in grades 4 through 12, 96% of the students are opting into the 1-to-X program, either with the insurance or no insurance option. And then also out of that, then we are averaging 88.15% of students bringing the devices on campus each day. You'll see our overall average daily bandwidth usage up from our summer months up to over 112 meg per student. And then also, as you'd imagine with the start of school, accessing online resources, getting into the content, the average bandwidth usage is in that 70% range, 70.5% in the education category. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kobeck.
Thank you.
Ms. Maloney, monthly financial report.
Thank you so much, President Miller, Dr. Rapp, members of the board. This is the first month of our fiscal year, September. It's cold in November, but we are reporting on the end of the month for September. We have not brought in hardly any of our taxes at this point, and we do have lots of expenditures because we have a payroll. So that is the way that you're going to see that in September. If you look at our Child Nutrition Fund, on the expense side, we have not made a payment to the contracted service yet. That simply represents the $767,000 represents our payroll for the month of September in the Child Nutrition Fund. In debt service, again, we've collected very little in taxes so far. Those should start to be coming in. Actually, we were just talking today, they're coming in pretty strong, right, as we speak, as the tax bills have gone out. I would call your attention to page 169. We have the new bond reporting, which I think is going to be very, very helpful for us. At the top of that report on page 169, it has all 4 of the bond sales, and then all of the projects are listed. If you go down to the bottom of page 170, you can see we had uncommitted construction, uncommitted technology, but as we move into October, we know that the Colony GMP was approved, and that will move up to the project. And the technology, we are in the process of allocating all of the technology projects now. So as we go through some of these things and we earn interest, we'll be able to address it based on this simpler 2-page report. And then lastly, I would want to call your attention to page 171, the portfolio summary management bar investment report. Last year at this time, the interest earned was $26,000. So you can see that much different story this year. That's largely in part to the average yield to maturity. Last year at this time was 0.067. The average yield 180-day Treasury bill for this period was 0.054. And we just got the October report that 180-day Treasury bill is now at 4.3. And so as our taxes come in, we're going to be able to ladder, as we spoke about in the work session, we'll be able to ladder out some things to take advantage of these rates for our investments.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Maloney. Academic calendar, Dr. Miller.
All right, academic calendar. So it came to you in September with the information item, and we have done a lot of work between now and then. So we put out a survey, remember, in September to get some feedback before we started the calendar to get everyone's preferences. So had over 6,000. It's important to note that 68% of that was from parents, and so we did go out and get some more input from staff, different groups of staff, just to see how the calendar impacts them and what their preferences are for that. And then the calendar committee met on 2 different occasions to really look at all those preferences and figure out some good options for calendars to consider. And typically we narrow it down to 2, but the preferences were so varied that we wanted to give people options, and so we have 4 out there this time. We're going to do it a little differently, which I'll explain to you, but just to briefly go over the survey results, we asked about preferences of start time. And so Wednesday was definitely what people were most interested in, and then parents on the committee really talked about if it was possible to push it back a week later, that might be nice. Staff varied more on the 9th as their start when you looked at the 2 different ones, but definitely both of those. It was pretty overwhelming that people wanted to end the first semester prior to winter break, which if you consider, it's a give and take when you do the calendar. So if you start later, but you want to enter before winter break, it's a little challenging to do. So, but we took that, and then Memorial Day, really people wanted to make sure that we finished school prior to Memorial Day. 9 weeks ending before spring break. Otherwise, you'll have spring break and then come back a week of exams, so that one was pretty high there. lots of different holidays that people wanted, and then there were 200 people of the 6,000 that had a couple other ideas. Next year's calendar, we actually can hit both of those ideas based on where they fall on the calendar, so that was pretty exciting. So themes from all the input of survey and all of the different groups that we talked to, this kind of sums up the themes that we were hearing. The asterisks were the ones that we really could achieve on most of our options. Again, if you take, it's all about those instructional times. So if you take those 5 from the beginning, you've got to put those in somewhere else. And so we couldn't accommodate all of them in every calendar option. For a theme we heard from teachers was needing more time to get work done or do planning when students weren't there, and then conferences for elementary. And then parents really asked for, if you have an early release day, if it could be on a 3-day weekend as much as possible, that really helped them out. So those were the things that we tried to do as preferences. As you can tell, they're vary. And so when we tried to look at calendar options, we couldn't just narrow it down to 1 or 2, so we wanted to provide several different options for people to kind of rank what their preferences were. Dr. Rapp actually recorded a video today for staff explaining about instructional time and how work days do not count as instructional time. But professional learning, it's capped, but it does count because the state recognizes if your teachers are growing in their skills, that impacts student success. And so when you're addressing teachers needing more work time, the calendar can't be the only solution to that. So, but we did look at that for sure. So there's calendar option A and B both start on the 9th, which is where we started this year. I tried to circle just to pop out for y'all of things that were different. So calendar A, the first 9 weeks is a little different. Definitely winter breaks are different. Both of them have the 3 weekends, which are what people were interested in on the survey, but they land differently. And then notice election day. Remember this year we used our extra minutes where we embedded that next year into looking a little different for them. And then the last day of school is the same on both of those with our bad weather day the day after that. Then we wanted to provide options for those who might want to consider starting later and how that would impact the calendar. Remember, you've just taken 5 days in August instructional time, and you now have to fit that in somewhere else as instructional time. So if we want to still continue to not get out Memorial Day. Now I actually had a group of parents help me of what would it look like if we went past Memorial Day, and we kept coming up with 1 or 2 days, and they're like, don't do that to us. So I was like, okay, I'm trying to get more. They're like, we don't want to come back for just 1 day or 2 days. But then you start impacting the teacher calendar if you go past longer than that. And so these 2 calendars, one of them starts on a Tuesday, one of them starts on a Wednesday. All the half days are just different for teachers. Most of them have to be professional learning. They don't have quite as much work time because, again, we're making up instructional minutes. And then there was just no way to get 3 weekends in winter break when you take those 5 days out. So what we're going to do with those 4 things is send it back out to staff in the community and say, okay, here are some 4 options. Please rank these for us of what your preferences are on that, and then we will look at all that and come up with a recommendation to share with y'all in December. We will get the results back this time when everything goes live for y'all. You will be able to see it then. You won't. Sometimes we've had to wait till after. It will be able to go whenever you go live. So, and then in December we will have it as an action item. So fun time on the calendar this year. It's been good stuff.
Thank you, Shauna. Any questions? Okay.
I've got some. I was waiting until my colleagues got theirs finished.
Go ahead.
Dr. Miller, thank you for your conversation with us on the calendar. Just a couple of items. Remind me, if you would, that's a committee focus group. You met several times. How many times did you all meet?
Well, we met 2 times in there, and then we also had a virtual wherever they had different voting, different conversations. And then they actually had a week where they had a work session, so they were working on their own and submitting things. So.
And who all, when you say they, who all is they?
Oh, on the committee, there's 13 30 people, staff members, parents, students, administrators, a group of...
That's what I was driving at.
Yeah.
Kids are still involved, rising seniors,
Oh,
correct?
yeah, juniors were involved in the process, yeah.
And then very appreciative that we lead that grouping of districts almost in number of days. You know, with the state changing to minutes, there's an opportunity to diminish that number of classroom days down. There's a sweet spot in there somewhere, right? Where if you want to do 500 minutes a day, you could do fewer days of instruction, but how many kids are going to be fresh in that 500th minute, right? So I think that's great that we've got the number of minutes we do and maximize the number of days and not buy down the days. So thank you for that. And then lastly, I just want to thank you for the multiple survey opportunities, right? That provides robust information to any community member that's interested on the back end, but also during the committee process. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Bonner. Targeted improvement plans, Dr. Fitzhugh.
So tonight we bring forth, as a discussion item, the information about our targeted improvement plans. We're going to start with just a brief refresher about the state accountability system so everybody understands kind of where we're at. So we currently, in terms of state rating and federal ratings, have two systems that give us different labels for our campuses. So the state rating gives an A to F and is based on 3 domains. And for 3rd through 8th grade, it's all STAR, and then high school has a little bit of CCMR thrown in there. The federal ratings label campuses comprehensive support and improvement, targeted, and additional targeted. That comprehensive support and improvement, 5% of all campuses in the state that receive title funds are labeled comprehensive, and it takes 2 years to exit. This is assigned primarily on the closing the gaps domain. Starting this year, they added in a little bit of that overall rating as part of the consideration as well. The state ratings for this year, we had that Senate Bill 1365 that allowed for there to be a not rated if a campus had anything below a C, and there were no state required improvement activities due to that. That state bill did not cover the federal ratings, so we were issued federal ratings, and so those campuses had to engage in in school improvement activities. Tonight we're here to talk about the comprehensive campuses because those are the plans that the board needed to see and approve as part of their activities. So just a brief timeline here. In 2019, we started with the state ratings of A to F and those comprehensive labels. In 2020, we did not receive any state ratings, and the federal ratings stayed the same. In 2021, there were no state ratings, and again, those federal ratings remained the same. In 2022, we had those A to Cs, and then the not rated, and then the federal ratings were reissued. So our campuses that were identified as comprehensive in 2019, it takes 2 years to exit. They haven't had a chance to exit. This is their first opportunity to show any type of improvement. Comprehensive support, it takes 2 years. If a campus is identified for the first time or was previously identified and they didn't make any growth, they're labeled comprehensive identified. Campuses that were previously identified but made a significant growth were labeled comprehensive progress. So this year we have 2 comprehensive progress campuses and then 1 that was in its first year of identification. These campuses are required to engage in school improvement activities and submit their board-approved target improvement plans to TEA. These plans will be brought back and forth to the board in December for approval, for action. So the campuses we're looking at tonight, Durham Middle School was assigned a comprehensive rating based on their 17-18 data. They're currently a C this year. They are a comprehensive progress campus, and you can see there between 2021 and 2022 the growth that was seen at that campus on STAR testing. They went from 53% of their students on all their tests being approaching to 71%. Their meets performance jumped 27 up to 43, and then their masters went from 10 to 24. Huffines, again, was a previously identified campus. They were identified based on 1819 data. Currently, they're an overall C. They just barely missed that B rating there with that 79. And they, again, also showed large growth between 21 and 22, with going from 62 up to 77% in their approaches, 31 up to 53% in their meets, and then 13% in the masters up to 32. So they are other progress campus. Mill Street is our first year identified campus for progress. They showed growth between 2021 and 2022 as well, but because they weren't previously identified, they're not in that progress group, they're in their initial identified. They went from 45 to 60% on the approaches, 18% up to 25%, and then 7% masters up to 10%. So all of our campuses that are in these groups are showing growth. They just fell into that 5% that had to receive that label at this point in time. And with that, Ms. Clark is going to come up to the podium. I mean, you can, if you would like to speak from there.
Thank you. Okay, so we're here to talk, it's my first time, so didn't know what podium to go to. So I am Jody Clark, I'm the chief of elementary schools, and I am here to talk to you just a little bit, and Ms. Upshaw, we are tag teaming it tonight, and to talk to you a little bit about what we are doing on this plan with our school improvement. So you can see on the screen our school improvement pathway that we have to follow, and you can see that we've already been through that kind of identification and training where we go to the region center and receive training on what all the process will look like, and then we do a self-assessment to come up with a targeted improvement plan. So we've been through that process, and we are currently looking at the Aligned survey where we have sent that survey out to our parents, to our students, to our staff, that they can give us feedback on the schools and how they're doing. And then in January, we will actually have someone that will come out to our campuses to help us do a diagnostic on-site visit. And then we'll continue all the way through, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, of what that improvement plan looks like in our different cycles. So you can see there's a little bit of a short-term and a long-term of the continued cycle. And then here, the Effective Schools Framework. So when we attended the training back in August, we go over this Effective Schools Framework. And so really what that is it was a framework that was created of how our schools are successful. And so it has different essential actions to that. It was created to have a common language around school improvement and what schools do that actually have great academic improvement and academic success. We have what we're called here as kind of a DCSI, so we help supervise those principals through the process, and then we have a campus leadership team that they come together with the principal to implement that plan on the campus. And here we go. There's a little bit more about the framework. So you can see we have 5 levers to choose from. And so within those 5 levers, each school will choose 2 that they will focus on for the year. And we have some slides moving forward to show you which 2 that each campus kind of went through that assessment process to decide to focus on for this year.
Good evening. So looking at the self-assessment and prioritization piece, this was the first step in the planning process for the principals and their teams. And so looking at the levers that were on the previous slide, each principal was to look at how successful they are currently and how they are currently implementing the essential actions and key practices, and then select 2 of those practices or essential actions. Okay, and then looking at data, so there are 3 pieces of data that we've talked about earlier, but each of these domains is important that the principal and the leadership team look at the data to determine what steps and what levers and what actions will be taken as they move forward in their planning. So this is the second step in the process. And you can see here that it's very detailed, the planning that goes into and the data pieces that go into the plan. And it is now in Plan for Learning. That is a change from the previous year, as well as the Campus Improvement Plan. So both of those pieces are in Plan for Learning. It's 3 years worth of data, as mentioned previously, and there's an opportunity to compare and then to choose accountability goals for each campus. And this is an example of the essential actions that go along with the levers. And so for each essential action, a principal and a campus leadership team can select 2 of these to apply to the levers. So there are levers and then there are essential actions that go with the plan. And then this is an example of the cycle. And so this is one of 2 pages that encompasses all the data and all the pieces, all the descriptions, as well as how the principals will build capacity in order to reach their goals. And so not only are they listing the key practices that they selected, but also how they will build capacity for their staff, which is a change in the plan from the previous year. As you can see, these steps actually are related to how staff will change, what changes we will see in staff actions that will directly impact student achievement. And then this is the second piece of this slide, which actually details also the action steps, and these are in 90-day cycles, and I believe, Jamie.
Okay, so within the 90-day cycles, what happens is the principals will set and make a 90-day cycle that they will implement these action items. And then we actually have Zoom calls where we sit with a TEA rep that actually gives us feedback, asks us questions about how our cycle is going. And the next cycle, like cycle 2, we are just now starting to set, because we look at how did cycle 1 go? Did we make good progress? Do we need to continue some things? And so that is kind of how the cycles and the action steps, we can adjust those as we go. And then if you look at this next part, I know we're going to talk specifically to each one of our schools and which essential standards they selected so that you can see a little bit about it specifically to our campus.
Okay, so for Durham Middle School, we selected, or Mr. Holt and the team selected 3.1, which is compelling and aligned vision, mission, goals, and values focused on a safe environment and high expectations, with the goal of creating a relationship-centered learning to build trust among students and staff. And so you can see there also creating that positive and safe school culture with things such as the Dragon Way and the Dragon Teacher Profile, as well as monitoring that regularly and giving feedback to students and staff. And then 5.1, effective classroom routines and instructional strategies to encourage productive struggle and cognitive lift. We like those terms. And giving students the opportunity to think critically but support them with scaffolds and be able to reach those higher levels. As well as Durham is implementing the blended learning approach in their English classes for grades 6 and 7. And then for Huff Hines Middle School, 4.1, daily use of highly qualified instructional materials aligned to instructional planning calendars and interim informative assessments. So really working with teachers to make sure that they are using similar classroom routines to positively impact learning, and then just the highest level materials and planning in order to help students achieve. Campus PLCs and professional learning lunch and learns are practices as well. And then 5.3, data-driven instruction, which really focuses again on those PLCs, looking at data, and really in talking with this, we really said that we're just kind of getting back to the basics as we've talked about this year. Some of the things that we know work, and let's bring those to the forefront as we have new staff as well as veteran staff, because we know that those things work. Things such as using AWARE data to identify students' needs and opportunities for interventions.
Okay, and then we have Mill Street Elementary, and if you don't mind, I'm going to tell you, our principal is here, Miss Deb Bailey, and she is working closely on 3.1 and 5.1. So we are really kind of trying to build that common mission, and we also are really working on the instructional strategies. And this is not an easy process. I mean, you have to be really transparent that all these people are coming into your school to help align the restorative practices. You'll see all these things listed here are things that we're already doing in the district, and between professional learning and our curriculum department, teaching and learning, all are joining together to help support them on these plans. And so we are really appreciative of the coaches even that are taking our teachers through learning cycles. So this last part is are awarded some money, so there's a positive, right, with school improvement. You're awarded $43,000 to work on, so improvement of those schools. So one of them, I know even up there we have that Mill Street is receiving Kagan training. We are bringing them in to help train, but the 2 middle schools are also attending that training, which really helps with engagement in the classrooms. And so Stephanie Harvey is also coming in to coach some of our teachers. What a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, right, to have coaching from her. We are able at Mill Street to use a behavior interventionist. That's been super helpful to helping on that campus, and then providing tutoring for our students. And then, you want me to keep going? Okay, I can keep going. And then at Durham and Huffines, we have homework in the cafe, a data clerk, and some extra duty pay of that, and the Elevation Math software that's really helping support that program. And we're using those funds to really help improve. And we have one more slide.
All right, so to wrap it up, our next steps, as we've said, we've completed the initial TIP work and plan. We've completed some of the cycle review and progress through Zoom calls and visits. The panorama survey is out right now with the deadline of this coming Friday. The TIP board approval is due on October 16th, as well as completion of Cycle 1. As Ms. Clark mentioned, we'll have a diagnostic visit later in the spring, and then we'll be moving on through the additional cycles for the remainder of the year. And then she has introduced Ms. Bailey, but I certainly don't want to leave without making sure you know that Mr. Holt and Ms. Gore have been an integral part of the planning of the process, as well as Ms. Bailey. We're working with them so far. Thank you. All right, that is it. Questions?
Any questions? Ms. Taylor?
I just wanted to know, with regard to the $43,000 grant, is that per school?
It is per school.
Okay.
Dr. Bonner?
Well, to the principals, thank you all very much for leading your campuses to success, right? That's what the track record shows, and with these programs and plans, expectation for continued success, right? A lot of hard work is envisioned for teachers and for you all, and I know for a fact that we're going to work those kids just as hard, right? Because that's how you get there. You know, you can't have any lost instructional time and such, and I know everybody knows that. I would just like to encourage you not to grow weary while doing good work. It can be tiresome and the challenge is there, but just continue at it. So I appreciate your work very much.
Great word, Dr. Bonner. Ms. Prozig?
I also wanted to encourage you and to let you know that we stand behind you in this journey that you're on. I do have a perfunctory question. Is it the same ESF facilitator for both middle and elementary, or do we have two different?
Been working with the same facilitator.
No, I think that's good, because I think then that they know what our practices are in the district, and it's not about relearning how we do things in LISD. So I'm happy to hear that.
Absolutely, and I will add they've been very complimentary of the way we do things in LISD.
I have no doubt.
I'll add to it, she used to work in Lewisville ISD. So that's an added bonus for us, right? She knows a lot about us.
Who is it?
Now you're going to have to out her.
Ashley Metzer.
Okay.
It was a long time ago that she worked in Lewisville, but she still knows Lewisville, so we're fired up.
Thank you.
I just had a really quick comment. You've given me a new favorite phrase, productive struggle and cognitive lift. I love it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to recognize my baby's principal, Ms. Gore. I know you're going to take great care of the kids at Huffines. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Real quick, add one thing to, because I wasn't for sure if you were asking a question or not. No. Okay. I just want to say thank you to, Ms. Clark and Ms. Upshaw, Ms. Litchfield, who wasn't able to be here tonight, Dr. Fitzhugh and Ms. Gall for all of their work as well with the curriculum, the professional learning, the training, and the support. And I just also want to echo my thanks to the principals. We will actually be bringing the targeted improvement plans back before you again at the December work session. So you'll have plenty of time to take what you've heard tonight, ask us additional questions in December at the work session before they come before approval in December. TEA is prescriptive about what you have to do here. So when you see on a slide, for instance, the panorama survey, that's required by the Texas Education Agency that we conduct that survey. I just think that's important for people to know that TEA determines some of the resources that we're required to use, and then we get to determine some of the things that we get to use in it. There are multiple accountability systems with the state of Texas. What we have talked about tonight is simply one response to one version of the state's accountability system. Dr. Miller will talk about in December the results-driven accountability system. It's the lesser-known accountability system. It doesn't get talked about as much as A to F. But I think it's important to know that there are things that we are doing very well that may not get highlighted in the A to F system, but you will see that highlighted in the RDA system. And so if there are any questions ever about what TEA requires of us, of course, we're always happy to answer those questions as well. But thank you all. Great job.
Thank you, Dr. Rapp. District-wide intruder detection audit report findings. Dr. Rapp.
Mr. Garrett's handling this. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Dr. Rapp. Through October 31st, the state inspectors have conducted 5 visits to LISD, Hebron High School, Arbor Creek Middle School, Heritage Elementary, Tom Hicks Elementary, and Camey Elementary have all been visited. Any findings that have been presented to the district have also been presented to the Safety and Security Committee of LISD, and any corrective actions that have been requested have been completed at this time. We are aware of a few audits this month that have happened, and we will be bringing those forward to you in December.
Questions for Mr. Garrett? Okay. Thank you, Matt. Consider approval of agreement for the purchase of attendance credit in accordance with Chapter 49 of the Texas Education Code. Ms. Maloney.
Yes, thank you, President Miller. We provided a lengthy discussion about this at the work session last Monday. This is our how we are option 3, exercising our option 3 to purchase attendance credits to take care of our recapture payment that is projected at $54.4 million for the fiscal year 2023. 100% of districts use this option. It is the lowest cost option for our district to use to pay this huge recapture payment that we must do. It does require board approval prior to the submission to the Texas Education Agency, and the due date for this approval is January 13th, 2023.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Prosnick, thank you.
I move that the board approve option 3, agreement for the purchase of attendance credit in accordance with Chapter 49 of the Texas Education Code for the 2022-2023 school year. In addition, for the 2022-2023 school year, we, the Board of Trustees, delegate contractual authority to obligate the school district under Texas Education Code TEC 11.1511C4 to the superintendent solely for the purpose of obligating the district under TEC 48.257 and TEC Chapter 49, subchapters A and D, and the rules adopted by the Commissioner of Education as authorized under TEC 49.006.
Taylor, would you read that again, Ms. Taylor? Would you like to read it again? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, last item of the night. The board will now resume item H, request to address the board. As a reminder, persons desiring to address the board of trustees must fill out speakers cards. Non-LISD residents shall be provided 1-minute presentation. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. Non-parent LISD parents will also have 1 minute. First speaker, Ashley Jones, if you give us your name and address.
Thank you so much for having us come tonight. I received an invite for the meeting Instructional Review Committee November 10, 2022 from 4 to 6. Why would a non-LISD guest be asked to leave 5 minutes into the meeting? Why is an Instructional Review Committee not on the list of LISD committees? So I believe if transparency with the community is to be achieved, and because of the actions of the facilitator who took it a step further and even kicked out an House District 63 representative representing him, they're kicked out, I have to believe that the subject material is not something you wish to be known to the community. And yet, you want to introduce material to our kids. And I would like to know why.
Thank you, Ashley. Melinda Preston, if you'd give your name and address and the feeder that your children would, that your home feeds into.
Say that again about what my children feed into?
Yeah, what school, do you live in LISD?
Okay. My name is Melinda Preston. I live in Frisco, Texas. My kids feed into the Frisco school system. I was going to talk about getting kicked out of the committee meeting last week, but I'm more appalled over what I've seen tonight. Whenever we are looking at children that are less than 50% proficient in math, and then we try to justify it, it blows my mind. I had a meeting the other day, and a wonderful lady came in and spoke. It was unexpected. We didn't know that she was coming. She was from China, and she was an educator. She was at a very large university. One of the things that she said to us is, the children are not learning. I'm getting them in college. I'm a professor. They don't know math. She says, I'm having to teach them. They'll never be successful. We've got to do a better job at teaching our children. Every one of us went to school. Every one of us loved school. How many of you loved your school years? We had books in our hands. Can we get back to teaching? That's what I'm asking.
We'll
Thank
respond
you.
in an email to you. It seems to be a misunderstanding of the interpretation of the data. Melanie Lamb, give us your name and address. Hey, Melanie.
Melanie Lamb, 5109 Prince Edward Court, Flower Mound, and, well, we did feed into Flower Mound High School. It's been 8 years since I've been at this mic. I'm a little concerned because, yeah, those numbers were pretty bad. And I looked up Kagan. I thought that was kind of interesting. I came here to speak on the app, the EverFi, but I think that this is kind of more interesting. It seems like anymore, we're just so focused on social emotional learning. Our kids aren't learning academics anymore. No more 3 R's. It's all about feelings. I'm looking here at this Kagan, and I mean, I'm sorry, but it's creating a kinder and more caring generation of learners. I mean, isn't that the parents' responsibility? And that's what, it's just, as a parent, it is. Our kids are not learning. They're not being educated anymore. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Did you want to say anything, Dr. Mayer?
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Miller, to provide some clarification to comments being made. We do work very hard in LISD to get feedback from our parents and staff members about programs and resources used within our district. The state does require that character education be taught through the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills in grades K through 12. And this school year, as part of our back to school forms, we provided to parents links to resources that we use by grade level. And so specifically, EverFi, which was mentioned tonight, is the resource that's used at high school. So a high school parent would have been provided that information in the back to school forms. Elementary and middle school would have been provided resources specific to that level. And of course, I would welcome a conversation about the character education TEKS, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. Of course, we have long since talked to our elected officials about the number of Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills that exist. There are a large number of them in all the core content areas. That is what we spend the majority of our courses and programs teaching, but we do customize the resources by grade level, and so the back to school forms addressed appropriately by level the links that families needed for those resources, and specifically linked to the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills as well. We do regularly utilize committees and or work groups to do some of the work of the district to give us input and feedback. We heard about that tonight with Ms. Miller, with Dr. Miller's calendar committee. The calendar committee met numerous times. It was a specific committee convened for that purpose, and it would never be the intention of any of us to convene a committee trying to show that any work was being done in secret. But those meetings are specific to the committee that's been engaged to do the work. Calendar committee as an example, building leadership teams as an example. I look at our 3 principals that are here tonight, and we have building leadership teams that they meet with regularly that involve parents, teachers, sometimes students, and a specific committee is invited to come do that work, and that's a regular practice. There's not any intent to make any of those things be secret, but those meetings are expected to be conducted with the group that's been invited to be a part of that work, whether that's an official committee, a work group, or a task force. We can have any of those things going throughout the district, and I would absolutely welcome any feedback individually. I'm happy to meet with anybody that has questions about how any of those things work in the district or things that they have heard that are of concern to them. We do value the feedback of our parents, our staff, and our students, and we do want to create many opportunities for people to give us that feedback. We've specifically been using EverFi for the last 3 years. It started as a project with Medical City Lewisville, and we constantly are getting feedback from our principals, our teachers, and parents as we engage in, are those resources meeting the needs of our students, and if they are, then we will continue to use them, and if not, then we will make a change as appropriate. But again, I would just say I thank people for their involvement in the work that we have going on in the district. We're thankful for the 6,000 people that responded to the calendar survey that went out to inform that, and we thank everybody that really read those back to school forms that we published this school year, clicked on the links, did their homework about those resources, and asked us any questions, because we did receive questions from parents as they completed those, and I would welcome any further conversation about that outside of this meeting as well.
Yes, so each speaker will receive a written follow-up from the district in the next 3 business days. The board and district administration values the feedback shared during this time of the meeting, and we are grateful for the continued partnership between LISD and families and communities we serve. Dr. Rapp, thank you for sharing that. As always, many of you have been given an opportunity to engage with us, come meet with Dr. Rapp, that type of thing. We can speak after the meeting. This isn't a deliberative item, but we are responding to some of the rumors that were started this week. So there's always an opportunity for you to sit in the conference room with Dr. Rapp or meet with board members, and we can address most of the concerns with the facts rather than some of the other things. If there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
But I've got a couple.
8:38.
I've got a couple questions. Please be seated. Please be seated, sir. I'm not finished.
This is not a time for you to deliberate with us.
I have a question.
I think that was just explained. I think that Dr. Rapp explained it very well. But then you weren't listening, respectfully.
I'll make one statement about that, and then would absolutely be happy to meet with anybody that was involved in coming to that meeting. People that were not part of the committee were not asked to stay in the meeting. We have committee meetings meeting across the district all the time. And so those meetings are meetings of the committee that's been tasked with that work. And when people may show up to meetings that are part of a committee structure and they're not part of that committee, they will not be allowed to stay at those meetings simply because this is an open public meeting. It's a great example of an opportunity to come speak publicly about concerns. But again, I'll use the couple of examples I used earlier, the calendar committee. If someone showed up to be a part of the calendar committee and they weren't on that committee, they would need to meet with us separately about any feedback they have related to that information in that item. And we publish opportunities all the time when they're able to be open for opportunities for people to sign up to be a part of that. I'd welcome to take any names from people that want to be a part of committees we have operating in the district and get people plugged in.
They're not Open Meetings Act meetings. This is an Open Meetings Act meeting. All right. If there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 8:40 p.m.